I'm Robin Webster. I'm the secretary of the Friends of Glenan Wood. The Friends of Glenan Wood took over the ownership of Glenan Wood, which is 147 hectares of North Atlantic temperate rainforest, in 2019. We recognized that it was a very beautiful and valuable wood, an old rainforest, part of a rainforest that covered the whole of the west coast of Scotland and indeed the west coast of the UK. The Forestry Commission was selling it because it was no longer economically viable for them, and we, as a community, had sort of first right of refusal, and we got together and decided we would want it. But we're keeping it for the community and trying to maintain it because it's under threat. If the rhododendrons are allowed to continue and the deer are allowed to continue to forage, there are far too many deer, we will lose the wood in the medium term, maybe 40 to 50 years, because the young oak trees aren't growing. We've got lots of mature oak trees, and the rhododendrons and the bracken are making it impenetrable, and that would be a great shame. So we have already got rid of quite a lot of rhododendrons. We're keeping the paths open, making better signage, and one of the first things we did actually was to build a community orchard. We felled some spruce, a small commercial plantation of spruce, and planted 80 fruit trees. And we've already had a harvest from them. We've had 2 years of harvest from them actually, and we are producing fruit juice at the local school. Which is great, and it involves the community. The main challenge is trying to find the funds to keep a ranger. We're very fortunate. We applied to the National Lottery and we had £90,000 last spring to employ a ranger for 4 days a week for 3 years. But we need continuous funding, really. That's all very well for the next 3 years, but what after that? We've looked at issues of maybe trying to build some shepherd's huts on the site, on one of the sites nearby the wood, right at the edge of the wood. Some of the board were against that because it wasn't really what they wanted to do, but it would provide an income for the wood. So we have actually got planning permission to do that, but we haven't been able to afford to do it yet. We were offered a loan of £50,000 to do that, but unfortunately we couldn't really find the rest of the money because it's going to cost about £300,000. So old Glenan village is up at the top of the hill. It takes about 3/4 of an hour to walk up to it, and it can be a very wet walk. But it's abandoned, about 6 or 7 houses there, stone houses which are abandoned, and it's very beautiful. Why they built quite so far from the shore isn't clear. An archaeologist has suggested that they looked for the only dry place in the wood, which is why they built there. We're not quite sure when the last person left Old Glenan village. There is a story that he hanged himself because he was, so sad about it. We think it was actually at the beginning of the 20th century. I have photographs of my grandmother camping here on the entrance here to Glenan Wood, so it's been of interest publicly for a long time. There's a photograph of her wearing a long white dress in 1913, just before the Second World War, with my family, my mother and her brothers, all standing around. And there was a company who built some bell tents and things there. And I'd like to speak to people who remember that. My mother sadly died a long time ago, and my grandmother before that. So it is very important to try and speak to people who remember what happened here, because there were farms here that they got their eggs and their milk from the local farmers long before the marina was built, and there has been a community interest in this part of the world actually for a long time. It's a very important naturally it's a very important place because there are unique bryophytes and sort of mosses and lichens and things here which don't exist anywhere else. And it's really important to preserve them and to increase the biodiversity of the area, which is important. We must catch these old people before they die, I'm afraid. I mean, I'm 84, and I know there are a number of other people who are older than me who have very good memories and are actually keen to tell it. So it's important that we actually record that, and I think it will be of huge interest actually to people to know how people lived in this not altogether hospitable but very beautiful part of the country.